Yes. So I was gonna do Instagram, but I was like, nah. So we're gonna go. So yeah, on Facebook, spam your people's. Like you can either like spam them message, you can tag them, uh, you know, however you want to spam it. Go crazy, because I'm about to like, hey, y'all, come on in. Um, and I need to stop. I keep forgetting that my posts are private, and so they're not public like at all. And I need
It
to
should
not do that.
be.
I mean, my business is public, not my personal page. So, you know. Jermaine is in the building. I met him, right? That one
Jermaine
time.
Buds?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
That one time in band camp.
In band camp. Yeah. It's a funny story. Him and I are, he's just like one of my personal good friends.
I love that. We all need those.
We met on a preaching platform.
Of course. Because you are a preacher, sir.
Was a preacher.
I think you still are, even if you're not actively on a pulpit, sir. So let's not do that. Let's own up to the gift. The gift doesn't return to God. You know what I'm saying? Thank you, Jermaine. Still, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wait, where do you see these comments?
You can't see them?
Maybe because I'm in my full screen. Now I see it.
Okay. Yeah. I keep those up so that, because hopefully they'll talk. I mean, while we're talking, they'll comment and then I'll like put it up there. So it'll look something like this. It'll pop up on my screen and then I'll hide it.
Well, I think you should do it that way because my screen is full. So if I do a full screen, I can see it when it pops up.
Cool. I will definitely do that. Again, we're giving people some time to come in. And then we're going to start discussion because this might go over the 45 minutes.
I hope not.
What? This is a huge
Wayne
topic.
has
Why
to
not?
cook dinner. I'm hungry.
Huh?
I haven't eaten. I fasted, so I haven't eaten in a little bit.
Oh, I mean,
so I'm hoping it. I mean, if it does, it does. But I'm hoping it doesn't.
You should have had a Snickers bar or something.
A Snickers, not a Snickers bar.
Hungry while wait.
Grab a Snickers, I guess.
Yeah. I'm glad you're fasting, though. Hello, all that has joined in. Feel free to comment. Let us know that you're here. Keep the comment section live, friends, because this is a topic. A very important topic. Hello.
Very important.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let me find out you got some loyal friends over there because they coming in.
Listen, I thank God for them. This is my village. I tell people this is my
there's
village.
one I recognize. Hey, Traquan. Traquan's going to be on in 3 weeks. You are very loyal, Traquan. I was just about to shout you out. Yeah, Traquan is here for it. He's coming in on the 10th of January. I love his topic. I think his topic is men raising men. It's a good topic. Listen, Traquan, he a preacher too. I got some preachers on here. Traquan's a preacher. Uzziah, who I had on 2 weeks ago, he a preacher. I got my saved, sanctified, Holy Ghost filled folks in the building. Anyway,
y'all ain't gonna get saved, sanctified tonight. I'm just to let y'all know that.
Can you not do that? I feel like they can very much get filled in there.
I said you're not gonna get that from me tonight.
Why not?
It may be moving in you, but
Oh,
for
you
me,
know
it's
how to
just going
turn
to
it
be.
off? That's a
Oh
thing.
yes, I
Oh,
know how
okay.
to. I know how to turn it off. When you become vulnerable and take off all of yourself, you tend to leave some things out, and maybe in this instance, I will leave some stuff out. But anyways,
Anywho, everyone, welcome to another episode of Black Man Heal series. Before you today, I have even though he doesn't claim to be a preacher anymore, he's a colleague, a preacher, a manager at a hotel still. Is that a thing?
it is a thing.
It is a thing. Okay. I met Wayne, I don't know how many years ago it's been. Um, but he is here to talk about something that plagues us all. We all have experienced it. It may not be through a death of a loved one, it could be a loss of a job, it could be any like deep, significant loss. We're talking about grieving. So, without further ado, I'm sure I left some stuff out, but Wayne is here. Wayne, if you want to say hello, if there's anything I left out, feel free to
No,
just.
she's listen. We've been friends for so long. Um, and it was crazy that when she asked me, listen. I'm gonna be transparent. She was like, I got the text messages. She was like, I'm gonna have you pre-record yours because you're a bit wild. But you know what? She said when we spoke further, she was like, no, I just prayed about it and God said let you do it. So here I am, guys. You're gonna get the unedited version, and I'm gonna make sure you don't have to do any damage control. Is that all right?
I don't think I said wild. I think I said unpredictable, but yes, yes. First of all, like I said before we went on, be 100% transparent because whatever it is that you're going through, a lot of people need to hear it and they need to hear the raw, unedited version. I was just saying, I was a little concerned because you can say things and it's like, don't know where he was going with that. Didn't know he was going to say it, but you know what? This is the time to be vulnerable because the whole point of this series is to let men have the space to emote, to share, and so we can hear what's going on in y'all's mind. Because the narrative for men has been created by women, and I'm just like, let's hear it from the source. So, feel free to say what you need to say. Okay? Okay.
Okay.
Mental health and grieving. What do we know about it? How has it impacted you? Are you actively struggling with mental health and or grieving?
Oh, me personally,
Yeah.
mental health. As a man, and this is just as being transparent. As a man, we don't really um, talk about mental health. It's something that we struggle with because we want to be strong. We're to be that alpha male that um, nothing affects us type of thing. You know, we tend to hide our emotions and our feelings. When it comes to grief and mental health, um, it became tricky for me.
Mhm.
Uh, Back in 2021, and again, I'm gonna be transparent. On my birthday, I went down to where did I go? Buffalo, New York. And me and my mother, we were very close. We had a very close relationship, and she was my biggest supporter, my cheerleader, my rock. Usually, when I travel, she'll be like, "No, don't go. You have to work, whatever. You know what mamas do."
Mhm.
But this time, she said, "Go ahead, and I'll see you when you get home." So I went to Buffalo, New York. I spent some times with my preacher friends, Pastor Coakley and Pastor Bria, and we were chilling and hanging out. And that Friday, I'll never forget it. That Friday, I'm sitting in Pastor Coakley's car. We're going to Insomnia Cookies because I am a fat boy. Pastor Coakley is too. But we're going to Insomnia Cookies, and he was like, "Call your mother." And I called her. She answered the phone, and he's asking her, um, "Miss Althea, how are you?" She wouldn't answer the question. She wanted to know how's his wife, how's the family, how's the new church assignment, because we're, the Amy Zion Church here, and I itinerant minister, so the bishop sends you where he sees fit. And so she didn't answer the question on how she was. That never dawned on me until after the situation. So then what happened was, I was like, you know what? Cool. All right. My mother's last question was, how's my son? Are you taking care of him? And he said, out of his mouth, he said, as long as he's with me, I got him. Saturday, I was hanging up. My friend Bria just got appointed to a church down in Buffalo, so I was hanging up some curtains for her in the parsonage in the living room. And my phone kept going off, and I'm like, I left the phone, and I was like, you know what, um, I'm not going to pay attention to it. So then my sister decided to call me, and I said to her, I answered the phone. I'm like, what? I'm busy right now. She said, stop what you're doing. And I said, what's wrong? She said, she's gone. And I said, who's gone? Where did who's she?
Mm-hmm.
She said, mom died.
Mm-hmm.
At that moment, I didn't really process. My legs
Mm-hmm.
gave out. Bria held me up. I didn't get to process the information. Now, in Buffalo, they have this thing called a lake shore effect. It's a storm where you can't see nothing in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
In my mind, I wanted to drive from Buffalo to Boston, which is an 8-hour drive. I wanted to drive to get to my mother's side, but I couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing I could have done. And so I took the next flight out that Sunday morning. And that whole time, I wasn't grieving. I filled the empty spaces with things. I went back to work immediately while planning a funeral, while preparing to preach my mother's eulogy. It was just like a whole bunch of stuff going on. So I wasn't really grieving. I had to be strong for my family. My mother has 2 biological kids, me and my oldest sister, and then she adopted 8 of us, 8 of them. So, or 9 of them. So there's 11 of us total.
Mm-hmm.
And so there were some little ones, and I said, we have to be strong for them. And so there was this. Now that I'm the man of the household, I have to make sure my little brothers and sisters are good, throughout this whole time. So there was no really grieving process. Let's fast forward until, I want to say this year, 2022, is when it really started to hit me that mom's gone.
Mm-hmm.
When you hit some successes in life, you want to pick up that phone and call my mom. Like, hey, Ma, I couldn't do it. And then I was in the shower one day, and it just hit me, that story that I told you about what Pastor Coakley and my mother, the conversation that transpired. In her last moments, she was worried about if her son is going to be okay. That day is when I knew grief was real.
Mm.
It was real because I didn't know how to handle the amount of heaviness there was.
Mm-hmm.
I got out the shower and I immediately just fell on the floor and started just bawling my eyes out. Now, I've never done a drug in my life. This is where transparency comes. I've never done a drug in my life, ever. I never smoked pot, never smoked a cigarette, never did anything. But then I picked up a habit, a coke habit, to try to hide the pain and mask the pain that I feel of the void that my mother left behind.
Mm-hmm.
I try to tell my sister when we speak that your parents never really, prepare you for life without them. They prepare you how to live life.
Yeah.
They prepare you how to pay bills. They prepare you how to cook and clean and all that other stuff. But they don't prepare you for life without them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so when I started to pick up this drug habit, a few times I tried to overdose to say, you know what, I'd rather be with my mother wherever she is, wherever that may be.
Mm-hmm.
But that didn't work. And I remember our conversations way back when we started talking, and you say, well, I think you need to talk to somebody. And me and you went over this last week. I masked it with, church hymns where I said, I must tell Jesus all of my problems. Jesus can help me, Jesus alone, right? And even though that sounds good, In the church world, that sounds perfect, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
But in reality, I don't want to hear that.
Mm.
When I called my sister to grieve and cry, she said, well, call your aunt, she'll pray for you. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear somebody praying for me,
Mhm.
because even though prayer does do some wonders, prayer is not where I'm at right now. Prayer is not what I need right now.
Yeah.
I need some friends or some family to tell me, hey, listen, you're going to get through this. You're going to get through this hurt, this pain, this void, because even though the same time heals all wounds, it doesn't heal this wound.
Right.
Like I said, it's going on 2 years, 2021.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it hasn't changed, it's only intensified.
Yeah.
So the dangers of grieving, of holding grief in, is now not being, I don't know how to cope, right? That's one of my biggest things. And I
Mhm.
told you I don't like talking to people. That's just me. I like to be bottled up, but then I see the dangers of the bottleness.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yesterday, Christmas Day, and this is again being transparent, I took a razor to myself only because it was heavy.
Mhm.
People that I tried to call, nobody answered their phone because everybody was with their loved ones, right?
Mhm.
And so when I said it got heavy, it just got so heavy. I watched my mother's funeral 3 times that on Christmas Day, only because number one, I preached her eulogy, something that I don't know where I got the strength, I don't know where I got the fortitude
Mhm.
or the stamina, because for me, I wanted to, if it was up to me, I wanted to sit down with my family and be that, that resting shoulder or that comforter that I supposed to be, that my mother raised me to be. But no, I had to be in the forefront, delivering a sermon about her life.
Mhm.
And so in my mind, I'm sitting here like, and I text my sister the other day, how did I do that? How did I, am I a psychopath? And these are real questions that, am I a psychopath? Like, if you understand me and my mother's dynamic, should have been bawling my eyes out when they closed that casket, or I should have just been lost my mind. But
Mhm.
how did I hold it together to deliver a eulogy? How did I hold it together to plan a whole funeral
Mhm.
from point A to point B, made sure the kids had their ties, their colors, their shoes, their clothes, made sure my mother had her blouse, her shirt, had her hair done, her makeup done. How did I do all that?
Mhm.
And so when I say the dangers, and when you ask me, well, what do you want to talk about? So when the dangers of grief, holding it in, right? It's dangerous because now you need something to fill that, to try to fill that void,
Mhm. Mhm.
to try to fill that hole. And when I reached out to my pastor's wife, I call her my sister, because she is like my sister. She's, they took me traveling and everything. Um, she said, you should talk to a counselor, get a therapist. She said, I got one, just get one.
Mhm.
And I'm like, you know me, mm, yeah, that's probably not going to work,
Mhm.
but it needs to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
I see myself losing myself.
Mm.
And like I said, to be transparent, excuse me, to be transparent, I've lost literally almost everything trying to chase something to fill this void.
Mhm.
And so it becomes, it's dangerous. It's a dangerous habit to try to um, keep up with,
Mhm.
right? It's a dangerous habit to hold
Yeah.
grief in, to try to mask or say that, you know what, I'm okay.
Mhm.
Everybody, I sent out my little Christmas things with me and my fiance, and everybody's like, wow, beautiful smile. I said, there's some pain behind that smile.
Yeah.
So when a lot of people ask, are you okay? Now I can say, no, I'm not okay. I'm
Mhm.
hurting.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm lost. I don't know which way to go.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that's where I'm stuck at.
Well, first and foremost, thank you for sharing and being honest. Um, in this moment, usually when anyone who I'm talking to, whether professionally or not, when they open up and they share something as heavy as that, I want to validate and reassure them like you are seen and you are definitely heard. And this is why we have to have the conversation, because you touched upon a lot of things. You touched upon trying to fill the void, and you end up chasing things that don't fill much of anything. If anything, it makes the hole bigger, right? Like I seen this quote that said, "Grief is a hole that you walk around in the daytime, and at night you fall into it." And I feel like that is so true, because we can avoid and we can fill our day with work and relationships outside of work, and we can find something to do. But then when you're at night and everything is shutting down and everything is supposed to get quiet, it's like the noise of grief. Like grief is noisy, mental health is noisy, right? And so then we pick up habits like what you were saying. Some may never go to a drug, but some may go to sex, some may go to drinking, some may go to extremes like trying to end their life or whatever it is. A lot of people try to feel something again, and
Yep.
in order to feel it, they try to fill self with whatever they can get their hands on. Um, and grief is very difficult because grief requires you to go through the stages, right? There's 5 stages. um, I don't know if you know about them, but I'm a teacher as well as a preacher as well as a counselor, so I always intertwine definitions into something. Where grief, it is deep sorrow after suffering a loss. This can be, again, the loss of a loved one through death. It could be the loss of a job, loss of housing. um, Me, in my transparent moment, I had a cyst that got infected, and they had to take out my left fallopian tube and my left ovary. I didn't realize it. I was grieving, and did I technically lose anything? No. Do I have another side that could function? Sure. But I hit a depression. I hit anger. I hit denial. I hit all of the stages, right? And it's because when you don't realize you have something or want something until it's gone. And grief is just that. It's a loss, right? So the 5 stages are denial and anger, bargaining, depression, and then the last one is acceptance. Sometimes we go through those, like we can go through denial quickly, anger maybe, and then bargaining, and then we can go back to denial. Like there's no time frame with it. But there are definitely stages. So hearing the stages, like where do you think you are in the stages of the 5 stages, and which
I'm
one
probably
is
at the first because, like I said, I just started,
mm,
and it is like I said, it's a journey
yeah.
that I've never experienced.
Hmm.
It's interesting journey, and I promised myself I wouldn't cry. It's an interesting journey, only because again, it's a place where I've never been. Right, that quote that you said, it was so real,
Hmm.
and it's crazy because a lot of people after my mother passed, a lot of people lost their moms that are close to me, and we kind of talk and check in with one another. And I tell them after the music fades is when you're going to feel it. When you lay down in the midnight hour, going through the course of your day in your head,
Hmm.
and you want to talk to your mom, she's not there. When you try to um, call her about the successes, like I said, or like I said, she was one of my biggest advocates in my ministry. I started a ministry called Kaya, Come As You Are. My mother made sure she was there every third Friday that we had it. Sold a $200 seed every week to make sure that we met our bills, our expenses. And so when I have, things going on, even the other day, I started to dial her house number because my mother didn't believe in a cell phone. She was old school. I started dialing her house number just to realize that she would not answer. So it's real. It's real and it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
Being a man where, and even in my family, we don't talk about health or even mental health. We don't talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
My mother, there was one day I came from work and it was like 8, 9 o'clock. I'm just getting in and I go in my mother's room and I say, Mom, what you doing dressed? Usually she in the bed by this time. I said, what you doing dressed? You going to get some, you going to get something? You going to get some from dad or something? She said, no, I just came from the doctor's. And I said, just came from the doctor's, how did it go? She just started crying. Then I knew something was wrong because she wouldn't tell us. She would not, me and my sister, she would not tell us. But I just never thought that it would be this soon. That after literally it just was like a 1, 2, 3. December of 20, she died in 21. December of 20, my mother had asked us to take a family portrait, right? And I had to work, my sister had to work, and she was like, if you ain't gonna take this family portrait, you're gonna find someplace else to live. Mama didn't want me to leave the house, so I was a mama's boy. She was like, you're gonna have to find some place to live because you need to take this portrait. She was so adamant about us taking like a whole family portrait, only for her to say goodbye in February. So back to grief. Being a man, and especially a man in the Black household, because again, we don't talk about mental health. We don't talk about our physical health. We daggone sure don't talk about spiritual health. We bottle it all in until we reach our breaking point, right? Until we had enough.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm scared, right? I'm scared of to the point where my breaking point is. I'm scared because my breaking point might be a little bit over the edge to the extreme. Like I said, I try to overdose because that pain is real. That pain is something that it's unexplainable. I wouldn't even wish it on my worst enemy.
Yeah.
Before my mother died, my godmother passed away, and that was my mother's best friend. They've been best friends for over, 35, over 40 years, right? So they've been best friends. My cousin, I call her my cousin because she's like my cousin, or my sister, Kiara, her daughter. I said, you're strong. I don't know how you're handling it. I don't know how you did it, but you're strong. I said, I can never picture myself going through what you went through.
Yeah.
And then I think it was a year later, my mom gone. And I was just like, and I texted her and said, how did you do it? How do you do it? And her grieving process is different. Her grieving process, she said, she said, hold on to the memories and try to accept those memories, the good memories and all that. And I said, well, I don't know how. Because those memories, yes, they're there. So you're going to laugh, you're going to, okay, Mom, it's great. Okay, yeah, we had some good Thanksgivings and we had some good Christmases and we laughed, we cried, we opened gifts. But that still doesn't fill the void. Because after you remember those memories, what happens? What happens when the music fades? What happens when everybody that said they're there for you at the funeral, oh, if you ever need me, call me. You pick up the phone to call them.
Yeah.
They're nowhere to be found. What happens?
Yeah.
And so that's where I am dealing with now in the what happens. next.
Mhm. Yeah, that is the hardest thing. I know when I lost my brother, and my brother was murdered in 2010. Um, that that was just crazy because he was unfortunately um, a person of the streets, and so the newspaper articles that was written about my brother was like, "Ah, he was convicted of this crime," and I said, whoa, 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 do not paint my brother out to be this thug gangster that, thank God, another black man off the streets. Don't do that. So that was a part of grieving. When I say that anger stage, oh, that denial and anger flipped for me because I was upset, right? But I couldn't, like you were saying, I couldn't grieve in the moment because I had to be strong for my family, right? Because it's me, my mom, and my brother, right? My brother is the oldest one. He's 6 years older than me, and my mom, for her to lose a son, I remember walking into her room and it was just like dark. And I'm thinking like, come on, mom, we can do this together and God's got us. But then it took me a while to realize there's no timing for grief. Like grief needs its time, emotions need its time to be felt. And, I think there's a reason why acceptance is that last stage, because I think acceptance is a patch over the hole, right? I think we accept this person is physically gone, or this job is physically gone, or um, the house has physically been foreclosed on. So there's that acceptance, like this is no longer a thing. I have to move forward. I saw another quote that said, it's not about moving on from grief, it's about moving forward. And so when you ask what happens after this, it's really about, like your cousin was saying, remember the memories, honor the life. I had to learn how to not only grieve and mourn the loss, but also celebrate his life. And by celebrating his life, I wanted to continue the legacy. My brother used to always say stuff like, Jamae, you got two things: be good, keep going, do what you're supposed to do, and then secondly, take care of mommy. And so when I said those are the two things I only knew to do was be good, continue, and then take care of my mother, that was it. Because I feel like I honor my brother by doing those things. And I also honor my brother by checking in on his 5 kids. He left 5 kids. It's a lot of kids. He left 5 kids, and I try to again patch the hole and um accept my brother won't be here to walk me down the aisle or to give the third degree to my future husband or to be the uncle to my kids. But I do know that my brother started something great, and as his sister, I want to honor his life in continuation. I think your job is to also do the same thing, is to continue whatever legacy your mom had for you. If Kaya was that, if she supported that, both in monetary, but also in her presence, continue that, because that is something she clearly believed in. Other than like outside of believing in you, you just keep going and you keep believing. And I think that's how we honor those who have left us, is finding a way to celebrate and honor their life, you know?
Yeah.
And I think you touched upon it, and I definitely want to circle back to it because unfortunately, we have a lot of those people like, if you need anything, you call me and I got you. And then you go and take them up on that offer, and it's like, so where you at? You know, I think people are so used to saying things just for the sake of saying something. And it's like, you have to remember, if you're going to tell someone in their most vulnerable season of their life right now that you're going to be there, be there. So not just as a person that is suffering through loss and grieving, but also as a man. How does one show up for you? Like, in what ways do you think people can show up for those who are grieving?
Me, just be that listener. So the way you show up, and again, and not being super spiritual, like I said, I don't want to hear, I'll pray for you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to hear that. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to hear Jesus will fix it.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear that. I want you to listen. You may not give me great opinions or or feedback, but just listen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I need to, how do I want to say this? I need to unpack
Mm-hmm.
what's packed in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if you're going to be there, be there.
Yeah.
And like you said, people and black people do it in the community all the time, in the black community. Just, talking just to talk.
Mm-hmm.
Like don't waste my time. Don't waste your breath.
Mm-hmm.
Because, when they were walking around the casket and I stood at my mother's head and everybody, oh, if you need me, call me, whatever you need, just call me. I don't need nothing, but let me call you because I'm hurting.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, the phone goes to voicemail. Send you a text message. Hey, I need help. Oh, this is my friend Michael that lost his mother. I feel like showing up is showing up. Sometimes it's just sitting there in silence.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's it. Sometimes you just want somebody's company. I need you.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever you are, just be here with me.
Mm-hmm.
Again, grief will play on your mental, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have you feeling like this is the end, there's nowhere else to turn. And so just to be in somebody's presence to kind of help you. There was a friend of mine that I met through a mutual friend, 25 years old, took his life last week. And when I tell you this was the happiest kid I've met, like he's smiling, he was the life of the party, took his life.
Mm-hmm.
It made me begin to think, was somebody there when he needed them to be? When he called his friends, because he called one friend and said, I just want to talk to you. And she said, I go home. I'm tired. Let me talk to you tomorrow. Could you have changed the, time? All you got to do is listen. And this is what I tell people: you don't got to give them any feedback. Just listen.
Mm-hmm.
I hate fakers. That's why I don't like to talk to therapists. Oh, I understand. Oh, I get what you're going through. Oh, I get it.
I'm not
No,
gonna take that personal, but yep.
yeah, I get it. They listen and they give you that feedback. Oh, I understand. Well, how does that make you feel? I don't want to hear that. Just listen to me.
Yeah.
And then maybe our next session, you can give me your feedback off of what I gave you, but I just want to dump and
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Right? That's what I want to do is just dump and go. And so when Alicia, like I said, my pastor's wife, when she said, "Well, Wayne, what do you look for in a therapist?" I said, "It's usually somebody that's either been through some of the things I've went through in life, because I didn't unpack my whole life. I unpacked a part of it, because I'm still there. Like you say, I don't show Wayne all of you. Yeah, I'm still there, still there. But there's some things that I look for, somebody that's been through, that can relate. So I can say we've been through this pain together, right? We've been through we lost somebody we loved. You lost your brother, right? He was close to you. So that's something that we can relate to. So you can speak on that pain of feeling the loss of somebody that's loves you unconditionally, right? Like you said, when people started to paint the picture of your brother, oh, he's this, he was that, he was this. Don't you know, my same family members that I have, the same blood, try to paint a picture of me, and my mother's like, hold up, wait, that's my baby, and he's gonna be my baby.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm not throwing him away because he made some mistakes in life. No, I'm not gonna give up on him. This is mine.
Yeah.
And so when people go through that, we just need to, and I need to create a support group where we can just all be in one and just say, listen, I'm not here today. My friend
Mm-hmm.
Michael texted me the other, how are you? I said, I'm going through it. And then today I said, how are you? And he said, Wayne, it's heavy today. It's not a good day for me.
Mm-hmm.
We need that support.
Mm-hmm.
Better than talking to a therapist, so to speak. No shots. But somebody that, like you said, you can relate to. Somebody that's
Yeah.
been there.
Mhm. Well, when we talk about overcoming grief, this is a part of it. And, I am going to heavily advocate for someone to go see counseling, not just because I'm a therapist, but because when you really think about what you were just saying, you have to like let this stuff out. You have to like dump on someone. We have a lot of people, and especially in our brown and black communities, who cannot handle that amount of weight that you need to dump and you need to like get rid of. When we, as therapists, when we are trained to counsel, we have to understand that we are signing up to be emotionally, mentally, sometimes even physically dumped on, physically vomiting. Like there might be someone who just that sounds a little vulgar, but I'm just saying, like, we are conditioned to know how to sit with someone in such a heavy state, which is why going to a therapist is so needed, not just because it's like, oh, well, they have the education. Yes, we do. I am licensed. That's great. But I know how to sit with somebody. And you have to find a therapist that is willing to sit with you. Like I tell my clients all the time, don't think I'm not going to get in the mud, in the dirt, the proverbial mud and dirt with you. I'm going to get in there. I'm not one to sit above you and be like, come up here. It's like, if you're down there, I have to meet you where you are. So here we go. Right. That's one reason why therapy is so necessary. Like counseling, I think the literal term for a counselor is an advisor, right? We can help you see past the pain. Like you mentioned that earlier, like sometimes you can't see past it. Sometimes your vision is like what's in front of you, and what's in front of you is I'm hurting. This is heavy. I can't continue. I can't, I don't feel anything. There's a huge hole in my heart. There's a huge hole in my hands. I can't hold anything. That's real. And you need someone who can help you to move past that and to move forward. Sit in it, feel it, process it, work through it, and then we move forward. You know what I mean? A lot of people won't see that. A lot of people can't do that just in a natural state, right? So that's why you go to a trained professional who can do that. Also, creating create the community, right, is so important. And something I've learned in my time is that when someone's leaving rehab for alcoholism or drug use, whatever it is, before they leave the rehab, there's a case manager there that's like, we need to flood you with resources. We need to get you into AA. We need to make sure that you have a group. We need to make sure that where you're going to is different, because they understand addiction is not something that you can just go back to the same environment and be like, okay, I spent 30 or 90 days out and I'm ready, right? That's not a thing. Creating the community is what they do for addicts or recovering addicts. That's no different from what we need to do in our natural state. Create the community. Like Wayne was saying, finding people who can sit with you, finding people who are willing to not just talk your ear off, but also just sit and be like, I'm here. Even if there's no words to give, because I don't think there's anything that can make grieving feel easier through word. But the preacher just came out of me. The only word that can help heal anything, even if it is in the slightest stitch, is the word of God. And we know that preachers, that the word became flesh and that flesh was Jesus Christ. So therefore, there is hope, right? And we have to redefine what hope looks like for us, because it's not going to look the same. It's not. We have to overcome a lot when we're grieving, and creating the community and finding a professional that can help. That's where it starts. That's how we can navigate through the stages that exist. So I said my little spiel about therapy. So I remember when you first started talking, you were talking about the dangers of holding it in, and that led to an addiction of some sort. Can you talk about why it was so hard for you to, first of all, face the grief, and now that you've developed a habit, how do you feel like you can kick the habit? Are you ready to let the habit go? This is that real part. I got my tissues here if I need to use it. So
Listen, we're at 45 minutes,
I
y'all.
don't
Listen,
care. This is an important topic. If we need to go for another 45, we will go for
listen,
another
no,
45.
listen, I tell y'all, I'm a preacher, right? I'm a preacher by trade. I
Go
like
for
to
it.
get in and get out, right? So we're gonna keep this short only because this part of grief is it's more of a part two. Um, you can never unpack it in part one, just because there's so much to unfold. But am I ready to let's start with the first question. What was your first question?
I don't know. You had to catch it when I got it.
He
What
tried to bow out
prevented
gracefully.
you?
Yes.
What was preventing you from facing the grief and facing the emotions that came from it?
So what prevented me was just obviously being strong, right? I had to play this part that I thought needed to be played, right? I had to um, be this macho man and be strong for a family. And this is where it really boggles me. Number one, a family that don't believe in you, a family that kicks you while you were down, a family that don't support you. Listen, I'm not here to badmouth my family. I really not. But we just gonna face reality, right? And so when I tell a lot of people this, they say, "Well, where's your family now?" I don't have them, right? And I feel like my family tolerated me because my mother was alive.
Mhm.
I don't think my family believed in me because my mother wasn't. I mean, because my mother was, you know. So that's it's a thing. So what prevented me from it was just trying to be this man. But all right, go ahead. What was the next question? Oh, the addiction part. Am I ready to kick it? No. And I'm just being honest. I need to. And I was telling my pastor, my brother, a colleague. I said, listen, I need to go to rehab. I need to because it's getting first when you start with one. Um, Let me start with a little bit. Then you have to keep increasing because what started you is not what's going to keep you.
Mhm.
Oh, see, now that's the preacher in me, right? What started you is not going to keep you. So you had to keep gradually increasing. And I see myself increasing to the point where, again, it's dangerous out here now because now on the streets, there's this drug called fentanyl that people overdose on. I'm hoping to get my hands on some. This is just transparent. This is just transparent because it's easier for me to um, be absent in the body. It's easier for me because the pain that is here is too heavy for me.
Mhm.
Like I said, I'm a mama's boy, every aspect of the word. She was my safety net. She was my cheerleader, my rock. And when you have that taken from you, you just don't know how to maneuver. I don't know how to live life without her.
Mhm.
And so, yes, my prayer was, Lord, let me just get my hand on a piece of fentanyl because the very little bit can kill you. That was my prayer for the longest. Lord, just take it away. Take me. Listen, I don't want to do it. I feel like there's no purpose. I have no purpose. After she passed away, like I said, I was living with her. When she passed away, I had not stayed home. Right, I slept in hotels. Obviously, I worked for hotels, so I was getting discounts, and so I stayed in hotels because when I walked in the house, it felt like an empty shell. It didn't feel like home, and my mother was the homemaker, right? People say, home is where the heart is. She was the heart. She was that beating heart that pumped life into that home. And when she passed, it was just empty. It was a void. And so I avoided going home. I stayed in the hotels, like I said. Then I got my own place, and it's just a lot. But that's it. We did 50 minutes.
I'm gonna need you to stop looking at the clock. If I knew how to hide that, I would hide it. Because listen, what you're speaking about is this is why we had to do it live, because there are people in the comments who are trying to encourage you to choose life, because there's so much more on the other side of this pain that we need you to see it. I think you need to see it. And so in this moment, it's about really trying to remind yourself that there is life after death. And we're not just talking about the transition, because to be absent from this body is to be present with the Lord. We are aware of that. But we need to understand that death is a vehicle into some lived life. Now, let me tell you why. When I lost my brother, I struggled a little bit at the beginning. Then it took me 2 years to hit that grieving spot. And when I say it hit, I was a junior in college. And that thing hit me in the chest like boom. It hit me so hard that I had to step away from school, because I was like, okay, I don't know how to do this. I cannot do this. So I took a step back. And then from there, I had to figure out what, like you said, what's next? How do I continue after this thing? And I didn't have any kids. I still don't have kids. I didn't have kids at the time. I didn't have anything that's like, Jermaine, you have a long life ahead of you. Go for it, because you don't want to die because of this and this and this and this. It took me to realize that my brother's passing, his son was born a few months after that. 8 months after, he died in January. So 7 months after that, the day after my birthday. And when that happened, I said, God is a God who can replace. Like, yes, we lose things, but God can always replace it. And to understand that death is a vehicle to life, it's because of his death that it woke something up in me. And it's like, Jermaine, you got to keep going. And so I would say to you, Wayne, you got to keep going. There's a reason why in all of the other attempts, nothing happened. It's because when God has a purpose for you, no demon in hell can stop that. And
True.
you are called to do something. And that calling was sent out, and it will not return to God void. So therefore, we have to see what's on the other side of this, right? And I think what you're realizing is we have our own power, so to speak. We have our own willpower. We have our own strength. And when that's not enough, we need someone to help, right? The same way when Moses had to lift up his arms for the Israelites to win the battle. And when his arms got heavy, he had 2 people on the side of him who are willing to hold his arms. If those 2 people do not exist, let it be a counselor and your partner. Let it be God and the rehab center. You have realized this, you have tapped out of your internal strength. You don't have any more, that's okay. But now it's about, again, the acceptance part. I can't do this alone. I need more than just me. And if the coke isn't going to do it, if the drinking isn't going to do it, if the sexing isn't going to do it, there's something more eternal that can do that. And you know this. The word is inside of you, whether you preaching it or not, right? And so you have to say to self, I tried. And if I don't have anything else in me, I need these pillars that's going to hold me up. And who those pillars are or what they look like, we got to get you there.
Correct.
So,
Listen, it's
if you
54
want to,
minutes, y'all. Does anybody have any questions? Listen, I don't like to take over her live, but listen, I'm going to tell y'all
something
something.
to throw at your head. Don't ask why I was here. I was putting bracelets together, y'all. You see, that's why this here. Don't be clocking my time. Like, don't do it. Um,
Listen, a
there's
black man got to eat. I'm hungry, y'all. I tell you all before. Listen, as preachers, as many of y'all know, before we present ourselves, we fast, right? So I'm hungry. I'm physically hungry. So that's I got to cook. But
I'm with her. Cut it out.
huh?
I'm with her. Cut it out.
Yeah, you with my cousin. It's okay though. But no, no. Does anybody have any questions? Because it is an important topic. It is something serious, and it's something not to take light about, right? Because it does get heavy. It really does get heavy. Um, he's not himself when he's. It really does get heavy. And so, if there's any questions, I know that we ain't. I probably didn't go through all her questions, and she's probably gonna cuss me out for saying, "Listen, we got to go." She's like, "It's gonna go over the 45 minutes that we usually do." And I at 56 minutes and 25 seconds, so I'm trying to keep it cute.
If not, we can do a part two. But
Yes,
everyone,
but there's definitely a part two, because again, there's something that obviously before leading up to the coke, there's something, things that happened before that. I went from one extreme to the next. I didn't go in between, but there is a part two. This is a topic where it's not it can't be done in one. You know what I mean? Because we'll be sitting here for hours, and I don't got hours to give you all today because I'm hungry. But we should have a part two, and interact with others that may be going through. Would we maybe have a panel on part two? A couple of people that are in the same boat as losing somebody they love, losing someone they loved, and how they're dealing with their grief.
yeah,
Um, and go from there. But this is your channel. Hey, I'm just a spectator on yours. I'm there. Thank you for having me. I really do.
your pastor got a point. I need you to read that out loud to yourself. Manifest those words in the atmosphere of your home. Yes,
Listen, I
yes.
must tell Jesus all of my problems. I cannot bear these burdens alone. I must tell Jesus. Jesus can help me. Jesus alone. Right? That's my therapist. But anyways, I will. I am actively looking for a therapist or somebody to um, help me through this process. But I'll touch base with you on that on a later date. Look at her face.
Y'all. Yes, thank you all for joining in. You have Wayne's information. Most of you are Wayne's friends. If you are watching this live, thank you for chiming in. If you are watching this on a rebroadcast, again, thank you for chiming in. And remember, this is what we're dealing with, right? A part of why I wanted to do this before the New Year's, because a lot of us, like you were saying, it's the holiday season, and a lot of us mourn losses harder around this time. So, Wayne, thank you for being transparent. Thank you for allowing us to see your heart and to see the pain. Like everyone has been saying in the comments, yes, there is Jesus. We love him. He is necessary. Therapy is great. Um, Rehab, please get yourself some help. I mean, there's no shame in asking for help. Outside of that, again, everyone, thank you for showing up and chiming in. We're going to do a double header. So I usually have one every Tuesday, but I wanted to end the year with a bang. So I have one coming up on Thursday. Thursday is with another colleague of mine. His name is Jonathan J.Q. Stewart. He is a counselor himself. He is a Black man, obviously. And we're going to continue the conversation. If we need to bring you back in 2 weeks on a Thursday, Wayne, be prepared because it's going down. Anyways, thank you all for coming. I hope to see you guys Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Wayne, we will be praying for you. Everyone in the comments who's a prayer warrior, we're going to lift you up in prayer because
Oh yes, yes, you can lift me up in prayer, but when I'm going through it, please don't say I'm praying for you. That's not what I want to hear.
as you made known. All right. Get you some food. Everyone, I love you guys. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for
Yes, I love
calling.
all of. Listen, I love y'all, and there's nothing you can do about it. Reach out to me. Y'all have my Facebook.
Wayne.
Chime in. Find me.
Yeah. Okay. Y'all be blessed. Hope to see y'all Thursday. Bye.